All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Canada Hoops. It's your boy Matty. Thank you for your continued support. Please keep downloading and sharing us. Visit our YouTube channel. Hit us up on Instagram and X.com. Our guest today is one of the best and most trusted journalists in Canadian basketball. He is also the host of the Canadian Basketball Podcast and covers the game for the Toronto Star. He is our boy Libaan Osman. Libaan, appreciate you joining us, man.
My guy Maddie, man, appreciate you for having me. Excited to talk some Canadian basketball and yeah.
Yeah, we finally linked it up. You're a busy man, and rightfully so, doing a great job covering the game, putting episodes out on your show for everyone to listen to. Like, how are things, man? I know busy time of year. We're about a month into the NBA season. You're always at the Raptors games and really highlighting the Canadian players. Just let our listeners know and the community know how you doing, man.
I'll be honest. I don't. Sometimes I wonder how I do it at times. But it's love, Like I love doing this. I love covering Canadian basketball. I love telling stories from high school, grassroots, college, NBA. So many stories that both of us know that are untold.
Right.
Um, and it deserves to be told. So this is like a passion and love for me, and it doesn't even feel like a job. So that's how I treat it. And I think if you treat it like that, then and that's how it feels like it's gonna reward you in the end. So yeah, and just I'm just grateful that I get to tell these type of stories and people's stories.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you know the explosion of it is just so cool where there's an opportunity for so many people to kind of highlight the stories. And I know I was so excited, man, when you announced your podcast and your show. I think that's incredible, man. You're doing a great job. Everyone's loving that. Like, how's that process been for you, man? Like, um, sometimes those things take a while, but just talk about what you've been loving about it, maybe a favorite guest or episode or story so far, man.
Yeah, that's a good question. The funny thing is this it took me like maybe like 2-3 years. Like it was like an idea.
Yeah,
And I've had conversations with a lot of people just about it. Like, should I do this? Should I not? And it was always this fear. It's like who would listen, who would care. But it's been like overwhelming. I'll get messages every like after episodes drops from a lot of people, and yeah, just support whether it's on social media, that kind of stuff. And yeah, favorite episode. That's a good question. It's like trying to figure out so many guests.
yeah,
I really enjoy um, when I'm on the road and I have like an interview with like a one-on-one guest where I speak to them and it's like I'm basically like traveling to do a podcast or like to do work or whatever it is. Those are my favorite ones, to be honest with you. Also, Studio Twos, like I think Keyshawn George was probably like the big one. He just played in Toronto.
yeah.
That one like being my first guest because obviously I covered him during the draft process, got close to his family, that kind of stuff. So it was like the perfect like launch type of thing where he was coming to play Toronto back to back days, and I've known him quite a bit, just caught up with him in Toronto. So it was pretty like when I got him, I was like, this is gonna be very exciting. And
Yeah,
Ryan Nemhard was another one at the draft combine, just sitting down with him and chatting with him. Jamil Telfer is another one at Summer League. Silas Swords was a fun one I did.
yeah,
She's obviously killing it at Michigan, almost upset UConn.
yeah,
Uh, I'm just thinking of like there's so many episodes. I don't want to leave out many, uh, but there's a lot. Michael Bartlett, having him on and just like being able to chat with him in depth, just about how he runs things and
shout out
um,
the boss, man.
yeah, shout out to him. Like,
Yeah,
and just like him being just open, honest. I love when people just come on the podcast and it's like, I don't want to tease the next couple of guests I have on that are coming on, but I'm
yeah,
excited for those chats too. Like, we'll have an episode coming what Tuesday, the week after that, and then, but I'm excited just for like stuff that are in the lined up too. And this podcast just gives me an excuse to like hit up people like randomly. It's like sometimes you'll chat with people, but it gives you an excuse to just like text people and it's like, hey, what are you doing? How you doing? Just catching up. Hey, whenever you're free, let me know if you want to jump on the podcast, that kind of stuff. And it's just open dialogue, conversations, and it just leads to not even just the podcast, just like catching up with people. So it gives me like that way to keep in touch with a lot of people that I've been trying to keep in touch with on a consistent basis. And then
yeah.
yeah, and then people just reach out too all the time. So it's been amazing in that process.
Yeah, man, the episodes have been great. Like I thought, the timing with Keyshawn was so cool because that was close, I think, to the announcement he was going to play for Canada and the senior men's team, right? So, and the America Cup, and then I think everyone was really excited to see him in that situation, right? I don't know, like the way he's been playing. I know you and Oren talked about it. Others have talked about it. Like this guy, he's got to be on the team in 27 for the World Cup. Provided health is good, and
He's
you know
locked
he
in.
may, he's
That's
locked
like
in. He might even start. Like this
he's
is
locked in. As long as
he's
they want him, talked to
yeah
him last night. He'll be there as long as contracts, health is a
yeah
good, everything's good. Keyshawn will be there.
yeah. That's nice because I think just he fits a major need in a position, like many of us know. So yeah, no, great job, man. The podcast is amazing. I know a lot of our listeners probably listen to it and check it out. I really like what you're doing there, and yeah, like the moments and the situations, like last night, it's so cool. Like Silo almost took down number one UConn by herself, and Shea's like 89 straight games of 20 plus. Andrew Nemhard 32 regular season career high. So I just think like the moments are massive right now, and the storytelling and the coverage is really cool, man. Like it's just on point right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't say sad that it took like you've been doing it for a while, but like for media wise, like that's kind of what I feel like. It's like why aren't we doing this on like a consistent basis, right? Like
Yeah,
these constantly updating, whether it's like even just high school, college, some major players coming up, and it takes us as the media like for them to get drafted or um, end up playing like high level basketball in college or whatever it is for us to actually start to take notice.
yeah,
So like it's kind of like what I want. I wanted to follow these players before that, where because I'm in the gym constantly just watching these guys or games and I'll do interviews on the side, that kind of stuff. But having a platform where they can share their stories and who they are and yeah, and also just like cover Canadian basketball news. Like I feel like there's always something happening, right?
yeah.
Uh that needs to be covered and told. So yeah.
What's like when you're looking at and covering, players at the high school level, youth level, whether it's club teams and whatever. Like, what aspect of that do you really enjoy? And then as opposed to the pro level, like everyone will see you at the Raptors games. Keyshawn and Will Riley were in town last night with the Wizards. So just maybe if you can, just talk about what you really enjoy about kind of each level and the player in those moments and what um, really stands out for you in terms of like a high school kid and then that pro player.
Yeah, high school for me, it's like a lot of the kids are just fresh. They've never oftentimes ever spoken to media.
Yeah,
So it's very, what's the word? It's authentic. They're not media trained by far at all. Like
right.
most times, like if I'm sitting down with a player, sometimes like it's their first ever interview, like chatting. So it's like me getting to know them, and a lot of times they appreciate that, like very much so. So a lot of it is because like I said, like most times when they get to the NBA, it's like okay, cool. Everybody's looking to talk to them, but if you're in the gym in high school, getting to know these players and getting to know their families and all that kind of stuff, they remember that kind of stuff. So, um, I think that's what's been key for me, and I just enjoy it. Like I think high school basketball on the Canadian scene is just high level talent. So many good teams. I'm gonna be heading out to a game this weekend, and so many top teams, so many top players coming out, and um, I honestly sometimes enjoy it more than the NBA. To be honest with you, like it's that
Nice.
like the field, the crowd, everyone is just like so like attached to this game, and yeah,
It's
just like
pure.
yeah, it's pure and getting to know the coaches, getting to know the people that are behind these players, the village that are behind these people. So that's kind of what I enjoy about it most. And then college too, it's like I've really enjoyed that and just like watching these. Like I said, I enjoy the NBA. I watch the Canadian talent, I watch all that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest, I'm probably watching more college basketball now than any other thing. Like that's
Right.
kind of where my eye is. I'll watch games. I'll right after this, I might pull up a game on see if there's any weekend games happening, that kind of stuff, and just keep an eye on the Canadian talent. And then because I usually cover like the high school, the NBA draft process, I'll go out to the Nike Hoop Summit usually, that kind of stuff. So it's like getting to know these wave of talent before they actually are like the next best thing in the NBA, right? So
Right.
uh yeah, it just gives you the opportunity just to like they're more open before like when it gets to the NBA, I'll be honest with you, it's tough to talk to these players unless you actually know them. So I don't know if I found a cheat code and like getting to know these guys like in high school and that kind of stuff. But yeah, and then just being able to tell the story, sending it to the families, having it in the newspaper or whatever it is, and then uh, yeah, that's probably my favorite part. And just yeah, the game's so pure, like you said.
Yeah, it's you know, everyone's at all levels are really crushing it, in terms of player wise, right? So, the amount of guys and girls that you can talk to at all levels is astounding now, right? And I just think, um this is a passion. I always say this is a passion podcast for me. I just love the program and the game. But in some small media spots that I've been, um, I found like the pro guys are pretty good with their time, and you want to ask a few questions, but I'm like a nobody, right? But they are very reserved and polished, right? So you got to kind of pick your spots, I guess. And then some of 'em, I think, just kind of similar to what you're saying. I think maybe some of my more favorite episodes have been when I've had a younger player on, like Sila and maybe Jabs and Bosco, and some of and they're well spoken, but they're yeah, they got a good insight at that age too. I think so. Um, yeah, it's cool, man. I think like um, everyone's seen your work, Liban, where it's that wide range, and so I just thought wanted to ask you that in terms of the differences and what you enjoy, and whether you're reporting on it or you're getting them on the show, right? Because it's the depth of it now is pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I agree completely. Like that's my thought process, and then just enjoying it. Like you said, for me, it's a passion project too. So
Yeah,
it's not like I'm trying to generate money off of this, right? It's more
yeah,
like
yeah,
I love the game, and it's um I love I love finding something new. That's the thing. When I interview somebody and I find out something I think nobody's ever known about them or something about them that might be interesting that's like, oh wow, never knew that about you. Like I think that when someone says that on the podcast, that to me is like a like my head is just I'm just beaming. My heart's just beaming.
yeah. And one thing I just want to ask, and maybe add to like the community side of it, right? Like, so someone like yourself, obviously our boy Orrin, big book launch came out. Everyone's been loving that. You've talked to him, we've talked to him. He's doing a ton of interviews. Um, what's that been like, just in terms of, and not necessarily with your podcast, but maybe in the day to day, whether it's online or um, doing your job with the Star, like the community side of it, everyone's got, I feel like, has a lot of time for each other. And it's not a bit of an outsider. Like I saw that even in Las Vegas last year when we were there for the showcase game for Canada US prior to the Olympics. I felt like the Canadian contingent there was, everyone was just like, hey, what's up? And appreciating kind of the moment. Like, what's the community feel like for you in these situations, man?
It's been great. I think a lot of times people are like thankful that there's a platform because some of the stuff that I'm reporting on, telling stories on, I don't know if many people touch on. So it's
Right.
like I'm trying to cover everything, whether it's like high school, like I said, grassroots, college basketball, WNBA, NBA, like every aspect to where it's like some people that obviously might be a fan of the NBA, they're gonna learn about a prospect in high school they should know about, or something like that, right? So it's touching on all aspects where it's like you're not just getting one thing. Touching, I've had NBA agents on the podcast that are Canadian, right? I'm hoping to
Yeah.
get more people in that realm. I had just like a strength and conditioning coach that was in the NBA just recently. So like a lot of people that's like they're within this entire Canadian basketball ecosystem. They're not a player, but they're in this ecosystem, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that's been important to shine the light on that kind of stuff. And like the people that help me with my podcast are all like people that I grew up with. So it's like my community is like the people that help me like that's why I've been able to do this podcast because they encourage me, they push me. Like the way the place that I record is like a place where all of us meet, we hang out. So it's like
Nice.
um Yeah, it's a community feel. I feel like this podcast is community, and then I go out to a lot of events, whether it's like grassroots events, that kind of stuff, college, high school, NBA. So it's like you touch every aspect, right? So whenever I go to those events, people come up and be like, "Hey, I listen to the podcast." It's like that's the greatest feeling, right? It's like I enjoy this episode. I enjoy that you're talking about this. I enjoy you talking about that. So yeah, it's been really great, and just want to keep going, keep growing it, you know. So that's the plan.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I know you will, and everyone's been supporting it. The journalism career, like, was that something you always were looking into and thought about? Just take me through that. How you really wanted to, or why you chose that, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was maybe grade 7 in, like, middle school, and I was a terrible student, by far, like, terrible student. I
Okay.
used to try to, like, get out of class, all that kinda stuff, and then my gym teacher at the time, like, was like, "Hey, we have this field trip for a whole day. You wanna come?" I was like, "I'm there no matter what."
Yeah, yeah,
I end up going on it. We go to it, ends up being a writing workshop. So I was like, "Oh, cool." Like I didn't I'm just like happy to get a class, to be honest with you. So it's this
yeah.
writing workshop and it's held by a guy named Morgan Campbell. And Morgan Campbell at the time he used to work at the Toronto Star. So
Okay.
I'm like I'm looking at it. He's like, "Hey, write something about basketball or whatever." Like that was my interest, right? I was like, I love basketball at the time. Like I wrote something about LeBron James' first game against the Sacramento Kings, how he dropped like 25, 5, and 5. And then he was like, "Hey, like you're good at like this is good. Like you should keep at this." And that was like the first time someone told me like, "Yo, you're good at something."
Yeah.
Since I was like a really bad student, to be honest, but that was
Right.
mostly on me because I just didn't care about school at the time. But
Yeah.
like that was the first time someone told me I was good at something, and then I also just looked at Morgan. And I was like, "This guy gets paid to like cover sports for a living. Like, this is cool." Like, I'm like, "This is like what? Like, I need to do this." So then I just went home. Remember going home that night and like just searching up everything about like sports journalism, like how to get into it. And then grade 9, grade 10, I just started writing for like Raptors blogs and like covering the team. It's like I was terrible writing, but it was just to get like my foot in the door, that kind of stuff. And then ended up just pursuing like writing in high school, and then got the grades, went to journalism school at Ryerson, now TMU, covered the
Yeah.
basketball team, and who was coaching at the time? Rorano was coaching at the time, so I covered his teams. Those teams would go to the final 8. They had guys like Emmanuel Derisa, who played for the national team, Jean Victor Mukama, who also played for the national team. Who else? I'm forgetting guys, but a lot of guys that ended up playing. And like that's kind of what piqued my interest. And then I started writing like long form storytelling on like some of the players on the team, getting to know their background, and that was like, wow, this is cool, like telling these people stories. And then I like was in school, was like covering it, the basketball. That was kind of my beat, covering for the student newspaper over there.
Yeah.
And there was an opening for like a Toronto Star like internship job. Ended up applying, got it, and then from there was just like I think I was like in the internship program for like 3 months, and then there was an opening on the digital desk, and then my editor, one of my editors at the time was like, "This guy is on Twitter 24/7. Like he tweets about, let's get him on the digital desk. Let's get him running our social media, that kind of stuff." So then
Right.
I ended up doing that, and that ended up turning into, okay, this guy also writes basketball. Let's like send him to the games and let's have him do that. Let's send him do social stuff, and it's also like if you want to write, we'll let you write. And then that ended up just becoming like, okay, let's do stories. And then my connections was just like I obviously was so tapped into like the basketball community in the city that every time I wanted to do a story on somebody, like whether it's like Delano Banton in the NBA, I knew somebody that knew him,
Right.
you know? So it was like
Nice.
someone could connect me to somebody, and it was just like my network just kept building from that point on. And it was like, okay, somebody would just refer me to somebody. It's like, hey, you should do a story on this person. You should do a story on this person. So it's like it just became like this thing where it's like it's so like the basketball community in Canada is so small, but it's also so big that
Yeah.
like everyone knows each other. But yeah, and then from there it's just like now I'm just at the Star as a reporter. So that's kind of been my journey. And yeah, but it all started with that writing workshop. I shot Morgan Campbell all the time and just piquing my interest in covering basketball, and I feel like that's where I am today for that.
Who like through the process to get where you're at now, like who have on the journalism side, who have you really kind of admired, peers, somebody that really helped you, maybe showing you a few things? But yeah, who's kind of maybe taking you under their wing, and who have you kind of really looked up to in that whole field, man?
It's tough. I'll be honest with you. It's like uh, mainly my most like the editors at the Star. I would say it's
Okay.
hard. I'll be honest. It's a competitive business. Some people
Yeah.
like they don't want to like. I'll be honest. People don't want to show you the ropes at times. You know, there's been some people that have been helpful in terms of like encouragement, that kind of stuff. But like outside of Morgan Campbell, outside of one editor, her name's Evie, who used to work at the Star. I would say, and then other people, I would say like Will and Alex from the Raptor show. Like
Yeah.
they brought me onto the show when I did a Delano Banton piece for the first time ever, and like that was the first time like I think people like I was very like active in
You're
the
talking
Raptor.
about the Raptors show, right? When they had the
Yeah,
Raptors? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, with Sportsnet, those guys
Yeah.
showed love. Um, but it wasn't like I'll be honest, like a lot of it was like, hey, like no one knew who I was to be honest with you. So it was like
Yeah.
a lot of it, I just had to rely on my community connections and like the people that I knew, like in the basketball space. There's obviously people you look up to, people that you admire their work, you watch, but sometimes you get scared to reach out. So like, it's not even their fault at times. Like sometimes it's like I'm also like I don't want to bug people, I don't want to bother people, and I want to be like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do like that kind of stuff? You know, which
Hmm.
honestly you probably should. I encourage it when people reach out to me, especially like people that look like me. I feel like that's the biggest thing because there's not a lot of black people in this space that I'm like I want to help whoever's the next one up, you know, just because I know how tough it is.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like I recommend anybody just like that wants to get into this to reach out. I decided not to for whatever reason, out of fear sometimes, but and you get this imposter syndrome too sometimes, right? It's like, should I be in this space? Should I be doing what I'm doing? You know, but you just gotta push through. Honestly, I just kept the mindset that was like, if I'm not, especially the stories that I tell, there's not really anybody really doing the stories that I do. And it's like if you find that niche of where you're gonna tell the stories that make you unique, that no one's really covering, it makes you stand out, right? So yeah, that's kind of been my journey. But Morgan Campbell, Evie were probably the two big people.
No, man, like, there's probably a young kid reading your work, right? That he's like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not the greatest player. I love the game, but I can be the next Libaan Osman. So I think that's important. I think like if you're now a guy that's willing to help others come up and show them things, I mean, they they will be the guy. Sorry, you'll be the guy they reference, right? So, um, no, I think that's cool. I think like I know it's like I've asked others like on other, like um Grange has been great with us, and he works for Rogers Sportsnet, Lewenberg, TSN, and I've asked them sort of the same things, and it is competitive, right? Everyone's kind of chasing that story, that same story or soundbite. So I understand, like, um,
Yeah, and I'll
kind
give
of,
credit
kind of,
to
yeah,
Grange. Grange is like probably the one guy that shows love to everybody. Like
yeah,
when
he
you're in the
does,
space, like he's the one person that will message you, will see you in the arena, and be like, "That was a really great story. Like, great job with
yeah,
that." You know, like you'll like shout to Grange. He's like the OG. I was always afraid to reach out to Grange. That's the thing, though. I was always afraid to reach out to him, but he's one of those guys that are like will always give you time. You know?
yeah. No, he's a beauty, and I think he understands that because if you know his story too, like he just almost second chance kind of got into it as well. Like he was looking at other careers, but then it opened up for him, and like he's joined us before. Yeah, great guy, and he's willing to help people and make time. And I remember he was going to jump on one time, and it was right when Nathan Barrett had passed, and he's like, "Maddie, I gotta go. Like, I have to," because he was talking to Roe and the family, and he's just like, "We have to do this another time." So, yeah, I know. Just cool insight, man. I appreciate that because I've seen it from afar, if you will, and I just kind of always wonder what that looks like for everybody. And Lee, man, let's get into the Canada basketball stuff, man. It's an exciting time. The FIBA World Cup qualifiers are coming up in Toronto December 1st. There's a really cool list of guys available to that in the pool. And, we're starting to build towards 2027 and obviously 2028. What do you make of maybe that program right now? I know you and Orrin had kind of talked about it and putting out like your Olympic rosters. But just Gordy being the head coach now and what his ability to tie guys in with relationships. Just from the World Cup perspective right now, maybe just give me a few thoughts, man.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We haven't heard much from Gordy Herbert, right? From I
Right.
know he was in camp this summer, spending time with the. I know they had a coaches retreat, all that kind of stuff, from what I've heard. So, um, yeah, I think for a guy that was like when you consider Canada basketball's options, like after they decided to part ways with Jordy Fernandez, like he was the top guy. He should have been, right? He should have been by far. Um, and yeah, I think he's gonna be, especially his experience winning with Germany,
Yeah.
by far, like coaching. I'm not worried about at this point. Shouldn't be worried about. The big question always is, can they get some bigs? Will the bigs
Yeah.
be helped? I
I
think
know.
that's the question I keep asking myself, turning when I'm sleeping. I'm like, will Zach Giddy be playing? All this kind of stuff, you know. So I think that's the biggest question. And yeah, but I'm excited. I think this is prime time. Steve Nash just did us a favor. LeBron's not playing. Steph Curry's not playing. He confirmed
Yeah.
that. Even though we kind of had an idea, I think that was great to hear.
Yeah.
So the Avengers, Kevin Durant probably not playing. A
Yeah.
lot of the guys that there might be some young guys that play for USA Basketball, some guys from that 2023 World Cup. So this is the best time. If everyone is on board, I know Rowan Bear and them are hard at work right now, getting their guys. They're at the games. They're talking to the players. Um, I think the biggest thing is like also just the size. I think that's my biggest concern, and how well these players gel. How do you add in some new players? I do think that people have been asking me like, "Oh, you don't think Dwight Powell or Kelly Olynyk are coming back?" I don't think they're going to be able to be honest, at that age to play at a maybe a World Cup. I don't think at Olympics, to be honest with you. But
Yeah. I
uh,
agree.
so it depends. Like we're losing two rotation bigs. Who's going to fill those slots, right? We talk about Keyshawn George, right? So
Yeah.
this is crucial. I think this is like the time. All eyes are on the organization. You got to win a medal. I think this is a time where I know people are saying FIBA is always hard. Oren's always the one like, hey, you shouldn't like. I love Oren's like optimistic, but also just like realize that FIBA is also difficult. But if you're in that organization, like this is the prime time. You have to be looking at this like we have to win gold. So I think a lot of people are expecting it, and I'm expecting it. So a lot of pressure, which is tough, right? Because you're gonna have to cut some NBA guys, more pull than ever. So got to figure out who the roster will be and what the players are gonna take. And I'm excited for the winter windows, December 1st. I'll be at the game at the Madame, I believe. So
Yeah.
excited for that and just the players coming in and yeah, we'll see. It's still a long way though. They still got to qualify, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
still a long way to go. I know we're thinking Olympics. I know we're thinking World Cup, but they still got to qualify. So
Yeah. It's man, like they I just saw before we jumped on, like FIBA had something on Instagram with the whole qualifier windows kind of laid out for the Americas. Obviously starts next month for the first phase, if you will, and then into February, and then they show like July in the summer, and then it goes to next fall with like phase two. So it is a process. Everyone's well aware of that, and I think they had to lean on what was it, like 34 guys or 32 guys in the previous qualifiers for the 2023 World Cup. So I imagine it'll be much the same again in the summer. You'll get NBA guys participating, but yeah, the size thing, bro. Like, man, like I think obviously health and whatnot. Like Zaki's a must, obviously, and um, play a role for Canada that they have not had for quite a long time. And I was actually like going back to the Paris Olympics, the camp in Vegas. Like, were you surprised? I was a little surprised Cabangeli didn't make the team over. I know like Kem Birch, the vet guy, and Kem actually played his bag off in the Olympics. I'll give him a lot of credit, and he went hard. But Cabangeli might be a guy like, no, obviously not an NBA guy anymore, but size wise, like, and he's really played well in like the America Cup and other windows, and he's got a great motor like that. To me, they have to take a long look at him because the size is an issue, right?
yeah, I don't know what went into the decision with Cam. I do think Cam was great, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But then I also think back to him like, hey, like imagine he guarded like a Yabusele, right? Or like dealt
yeah,
with that. I think that would have been a perfect matchup
yeah,
for Cam to like counter with. But I think he's a lock, right? Like I think he's a lock in everybody's eyes to play for Canada the World Cup at the
Yeah,
Olympics to qualify. Uh, so yeah, it's he's a guy that I was very impressed with at the FIBA America Cup. Probably would say I thought he was the best player for Canada, the most consistent. Like Keyshawn George had by far the best performances, was
right.
like star guy, but like the most consistent, level-headed guy that gave you everything, had a great game mostly all the time. Cabangeli, like he's the guy I think they need to rely on, and I'm saying he's a lock. I think he's by far a lock for the program, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like who else makes up that big rotation, right? Do they go with um, Zach Edey will be part of it if he wants to. If does Brandon Clark end up playing for the first time with Canada basketball in a while, right? I don't
Yeah.
know if he's played before. Has he played?
No, he's kind of always been an outlier. He has obviously, to my
He's
knowledge, like expressed interest, but
I've spoken to him too.
situations.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
spoken to him too. Like, might have been the last time Memphis was in town. I spoke to him, and he was like, "I'm interested. Just timing hasn't been right." So he's expressed interest to a lot of us that he wants to play.
yeah,
They might have to rely on some young bigs coming up the pipeline, right? So these players coming up, so that might be something that Canada has to focus on. But yeah, it's going to be interesting just to see. But Cam McGelly, by far a lock for Canada basketball in my eyes.
yeah. And I think like the size thing, man. Like I think about game to game situations because like the team is so wing heavy or guard heavy. If things are going well in games, ideally the minutes aren't a lot where you have to worry about maybe some size depth so that, if Shea's cooking and if we get Jamal Murray healthy and he wants to play again, that might be another story for another day. But like if the team is playing that well and really just dominating teams, okay, can you get away with one or two bigs and not worry about the depth of that position as much where because the scoring margin is that much higher. So I'm like optimistic that the rest of the guys will just really play so well that and you throw in a guy like I think Shaden Sharp's got to be on this team if everything lines up. He's been outstanding to start the year. Like I'm sure you saw there was like a usage rate for guys to start the year, and a bunch of Canadians are in the top 10
Yeah.
like usage improvement rates, and that's Dylan, that's Shaden, Nikhil having a great start with Atlanta. I love Nikhil. He's like my favorite player. I've been all over him. So yeah, hopefully the size. I guess what I'm trying to say is like size depth, not necessarily a major issue if we can just really pressure a lot of teams and turn it over and just run up the score in situations. There's going to be tougher matchups, obviously, but can we get away with say Zach and then Cabangeli and maybe that's it size wise, like for like true monsters kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see, man.
Yeah, I just think for reassurance, you're gonna need somebody to like back up those guys. But
Yeah,
most times, like you said, that small ball, like it worked for Canada. Like it's not act
yeah,
like it didn't. France, it didn't work, but like they won that group in epic fashion. Like they what people call the group of death. They dominated, right? So
yeah,
uh, yeah, it worked also if you want to take the World Cup as a win, winning bronze, like it worked for them there. Uh, so it's not like it's not a bad style, but like you do have to think about like when you have to face the Jokic's of the world, when you got to face
yeah,
the the Giannis's of the
yeah,
world, you want to build up a wall, a brick wall, so he doesn't get to the paint. If you have to face like I'm trying to think of other bigs like Jonas Valanciunas, like in these tournaments. Who else? I'm trying to think of other bigs that are like if a Joel Embiid plays again, like there's a lot of guys that
yeah,
you got to watch out for. So just to have that reassurance, I think it's big. But Canada, I do see Herbert kind of like relying on like this is what our best talent is. It's guard heavy, it's wing heavy, and we're gonna rely on that, and we're gonna play to that style. But I'm gonna make sure that if another team has an advantage, we can counter. We can actually play to and guard that. So I think it's gonna be a mix. But I do think we're gonna play probably guard heavy, wing
yeah,
heavy, similar to what Fernandez did.
yeah. And I was just gonna say, like, I think Jordy. the blueprint's there now, to a certain degree. Like the size issue obviously hit us in the face against France, but the blueprint is there. Gordy can take that. He'll probably tweak it. But he's like, yeah, like this is what we are best at, and this is how we're gonna beat teams and turn them over and whatnot. But yeah, we got to have some size. Do you think, like, if you look at the numbers, say from the Olympic team, like, I can't see. Obviously, I agree with you. Like, I love Kelly. I love Dwight Warriors for the team and the program. Probably not back. No Melvin Edgem. No Ken Birch. No Trey Lyles. So like, there's some spots to fill. Who's maybe in some of these new guys coming up like a Shaden, and we talk about Keyshawn, but who's a must? Who's an automatic? And don't even think about Paris. Just look at the World Cup because I'm gonna be a pretty positive and optimistic as one of the seven. I think it's seven America's teams that qualifies for the World Cup. We probably get in, but is there a guy that's I know you and Oren talked about it, but who's a must, man? Who's got to be on this team?
Yeah, for me, let me just go through the list that I have, guys, that I
Yeah,
think are. I think Shea's a must. I think RJ Barrett's a must. RJ Barrett, you have no option. Let's be honest with you.
yeah, yeah.
Dylan
Yeah,
Brooks,
dad is
Keyshawn,
making you.
yeah, Lou
Yeah,
Dort, Nikhil,
yeah.
Andrew. To me, 10 guys might be, but then also you got to factor in like these contract situations.
I
Uh,
know.
Ed Matherin is a guy that I see. I know Oren had on his list. I don't have
Yeah,
on my list just because I'm like, what does he add that like other players don't? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
That's been my biggest question. But people call me crazy for not having Ben Matherin on the roster, right?
I can
Uh,
kind of agree with you there, man. I do.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll see, man. But I think Lou Dort is a must. I think to me the must are like Shea. But also Shea, hey man, Shea's if he wants to take a summer off, then who knows, right? But
yeah.
I do think if I had to pick, it'd be Shea, it'd be RJ, it'd be Dylan, it'd be Keyshawn, and it would be it would be
And
Zach.
Nikhil.
It might be
Oh, Zach.
5. I would just have
Okay.
5 to be must. The rest,
Okay.
I think I would sprinkle in. Like the Lou Dorts, the Nikhils, the Andrews, I think will play are definitely on that roster. But I
Yeah.
do think like if I had to like, okay, you can only like guns to my head, you only give me 5 options. I need those guys just to like kind of. I want the starters basically is what I'm saying. Like I want those guys to like to be the core of like what I'm building. And yeah, I would want the 5 just to like be set and like have some continuity going into the World Cup. Whatever your 5 starting lineup is, it's going to be that you want for the Olympics has to be there for the World Cup. You know what I'm saying? Because I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest issue with the people would say with the Olympics. It's like trying to figure out the Jamal Murray minutes, whether Andrew, the Nikhil, those type of minutes, right? Let's have a 5 that is set, and then from there, let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Ideally, it works out. Yeah. And like, you hit on the head, man. Like, Paris, you're watching this summer unfold. Jamal wasn't available for a couple games overseas when they went over there for the exhibition. And then, or yeah, no, he didn't play in those, did he? He missed a couple
He
games in
played,
Germany.
played in I
Yeah.
think maybe one scrimmage. I'm
We
not
saw
too
him in
sure.
Vegas. We saw him in Vegas, and Vegas was an outlier because it was like a showcase thing, and it was USA basketball event, and whatever. Like they were just trying to get a feel for things or whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, um, the summer of the Olympics was much different than the World Cup summer, right? So, um, if you can lock that starting 5 in and have that consistency, you nailed it, man. That's going to be massive, man.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for Herbert, like people are wondering, like great X's and O coach, like he knows these players, but like I don't know if he knows these players like on a personal level. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, can he like will his coaching style mesh with like some of these players that NBA style, right? Where like German was like a lot of is all overseas guys and he knew those players growing up, you know? So obviously he knows the Canadian players. I don't know what his like friendships are and like what his like actual relationships are getting to know these players. But I think the biggest thing is like how does he gel with like a roster that on paper, if you want Canada to be the best, it's going to be majority NBA guys. So like, how do you mix and match? And we've known like he's cut NBA guys, right? Like from his roster. So
right.
how does he deal with like say like I've said this multiple times. I'm like, if Zach Edey tells me he's not playing to the Olympics, I have to have him there. So how would Herbert feel about that, right? Where he's like, I'm actually not going to be playing in the World Cup. I'm not going to be playing in these games. I want to play only at the Olympics, you know? And like, will he keep him on the roster? especially if there's that need at center, or will you go with like who will you go with? Who's the other option? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's kind of my question is like, will Herbert be able to be like, okay, cool, I'm switching up the way I have done things in the past, and like I'm not. But also, he's also had other bigs like in Germany that were like NBA style bigs, right? He had
yeah,
the Wagner. I'm forgetting his damn name, but the bros. He had those guys, you know. So
yeah.
um, so like he had options right at the big position. So I wonder like if one of these NBA guys says I'm not playing, and does how does that translate? Right? Does Are they guaranteed? Are they going to bring out these promises of 3 year, 2 year commitments or 1 year? Like I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think they should? Because I'm just battling. I'm like I don't know if I would this time around.
I think that whole 3-year thing going into like the 2023 World Cup with Nick Nurse originally the head coach, like I think at the time it was kind of necessary to kind of really write the program, and we had like Shea emerging, we had other guys emerging, and they were expressing interest, and they wanted to really, revitalize the program at the senior men's level. Now going into this next cycle and quad, and we're already into it with the qualifiers coming up. Like, I don't know how realistic that is, man. I just think you have to sort of roll with, each window. Like the telling point's going to be next summer when they have those games in July and August, I think it is. And so it's like if they put a home game, they'll probably put the home game in July in in the GTA area for the guys, right? I'm just gonna assume that easier logistics, and then how many guys are playing in that from the NBA? Now it's at home; they may want to do that and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know that this commitment idea 3-year term Liban is realistic now at this point, right? And I wonder too, to your point with Gordy and connections and relationships, and what he wants for a commitment from guys. How much does he lean on Nate Mitchell and other guys that have been there forever and train these guys and they spend time with them and to kind of pull guys in? And how much is Rowan Barrett a buffer to all this, where Rowe is constantly doing the networking to guys, not just the NBA guys, but overseas guys for your windows, to generate this pool where Rowe's a buffer, and now he's saying to Gordy like, okay, maybe this guy's saying he can't play in this summer, but we need to have him next summer. Like that's behind the scenes. Like I would love to get Rowe on the pod, man. Honestly, straight up, and I want to hear his story for St. John's and his whole career, not just the Canada basketball stuff. But it's gonna be interesting, man. It's like this window here, first game on December 1st. Not a great indicator of some of that stuff, but next summer, I'm telling you, man. Like who's saying they're in, right? When they've maybe had a long NBA season. Now, if a guy's getting an opportunity to play at home, like, if they put that game in Hamilton, we know Shea's going to play or whatever, right? So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think Nate Mitchell you mentioned. I think he's probably like the glue to a lot of things people
Yes.
don't realize. Obviously, the players are going to decide to play on their own, but he has a lot of relationships with these players, right? He's either coached, he's trained, he's been by a lot of these players' sides, and like we can go down the list, and like he has a relationship with like nearly all these guys at some
Yeah.
level, you know. So I think he's
Yeah.
going to be big, but also just like that's a big relationship. But also comes down like if player doesn't want to play, Nate can't do much about it, you know. So he can try to talk them into playing. But if they don't want to play, and if something else is coming up, they can't do much, you know. So, but I think
Yeah.
I think he's probably the most important assistant coach on that staff by far.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think, the program, we talk about Bartlett, and his staff, like they've done their work, I feel, on their end to make this as good a situation as they can for guys. They understand the limitations at points, and what they have to deal with on a day to day and responsibility, pro career, family, everything, right? So I think the program can't fault itself. Everything's ready. Um, I agree. Gordy was probably the best hire when it was time to move on from Jordy, and so we just gotta let it. It's time to play, man, and just really see what some of these rosters shape out and look like in the next couple windows. That's really the key, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be some really good basketball. It's gonna be some fun coverage, just following these teams on the
Yeah,
men's and women's side. They just destroyed on the women's side Mexico in an exhibition game.
yeah,
And yeah, if you're watching college basketball, you're watching these players coming up. It's very exciting. Like I'm trying to figure out on the women's side, like who's gonna be on that Olympic roster. It's gonna be hard to narrow it down if they make it to a 12-player roster, especially trying to gel in these college players and
yeah,
uh, a lot of players are interested from what I'm hearing. So it's gonna be tough.
yeah. The women's side, real quick, they got some players that play a lot of the same positions. So it's like, you know, I think some of the young women in the NCAA that are playing right now and crushing it. Silas Swords, Delaney Gibb, like Avery Howe, they play a lot of the same spots. So it's like, there's only so many spots for these women, man. So it's going to be a tough decision. They got some, um, big decisions to make on their end too. It's gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah.
All right, Liban, first time on the pod. We hope you'll come back. Really appreciate it. Who is your top five of all time for Canada basketball?
Okay. I'm going off of just like nobody. I'm going off of basically the last maybe let's say 12, 13 years.
All right, man.
Uh, sorry, Steve Nash. Obviously, you're an all-time great. You're not on my list though. I'm
Yeah,
going Shea.
yeah.
He's the MVP. He's the greatest Canadian basketball player of all time. He's gonna
Agreed.
get every accolade there is. I'm still waiting to get my Converse shoe. Second, I'm going at shooting guard. I'm going with Jamal Murray, another NBA champion. I
Yep.
think what he did on the grassroots scene. Like if another go read Oren's book just about like he's the first guy from Canada to go from a high school all straight to the NBA. Like like his journey from like staying in Canada and then going all the way to Kentucky and then going to the NBA. Like he paved the way for a lot of guys to follow in his footsteps. People were like, "This, it's cool to stay in Canada." Even though a lot of players are still going to the states, and that's still like the number one way to get to the NBA. There's still people are staying at home. There's a lot of talent. I'm excited to watch. Like I said this weekend, there's a lot of Canadian talent still at home. I think
Yep.
Jamal Murray started that trend of that you don't have to go to the states necessarily. So I'm putting him at the number two, and he's obviously like NBA champion, one of the greatest scorers in Canadian history. Number three, I'm going with RJ Barrett. RJ
Nice.
Barrett. The reason I'm going with RJ Barrett, to me, it's that was it the FIBA U19 gold that
U
he won?
nineteen, U19 in 2017.
He's the
That's yeah,
only he's the only guy to win a gold medal on
yeah,
uh on that stage. The only one that could flex that. So I think that was huge at the moment for Canada. We haven't had anything since that. So I want to give him his love and just like being a guy that was like touted as the number one guy coming out, and then obviously going number three in the draft. A lot of pressure. He's come home, and he's the guy that will always show up. I think you got to show love to guys that will always be there. I know his pops runs things, but like
yeah,
will always show up. Like I think that's something that I don't have to question about. RJ Bear, as long as he's not injured, he will always be there. Even if it's a constant situation, I think he would always be there. Like that's how RJ Bear is committed to Canada basketball. So he's like
right.
he's the golden child when I think of Canada basketball. So I'll put him at the three, and then I will put Dylan Brooks, just one of my favorite guys to cover, to be honest with you.
Nice.
It's like the guys that I've like just doing the podcast that I do now. It's like every person I talk to just talks about how Dylan Brooks is like influential to them. Like he gives back to the community. He helps a lot of these young players coming up. His impact is going to go far greater than his NBA career, even though he's had such a great career. And I
Yeah,
just think about how him and Shea willed Canada to the Olympics. So I want to give him his love for the first time in 24 years. He was a big part of that. So Dylan
hell yeah,
Brooks,
yeah.
Dylan Brooks, um, and then sorry, Dylan Brooks is my five. My four will be Wiggins, Andrew Wiggins,
Okay.
a shy, reserved guy, but one of the first number one picks after Anthony Bennett. He was a guy that just he made I want to say like obviously people called him like was it Maple Jordan or something like that? I forgot what they
Yeah,
called him
yeah,
exactly. But
yeah,
like
yeah,
he made like I think mixtapes cool in Canada. Like everyone wanted to have one. Like he was one of those guys that uh like if you hear the stories of Andrew Wiggins in high school, man, like insane the stuff that he did. And he's a guy that I wish will play for Canada basketball. I don't think it will ever happen, to be honest with you. Who knows? But again, but he's a guy that I think deserves a lot more love than he gets, and special place in my heart. Just like knowing everything that he's accomplished. Another NBA champion. Was it like number, if you consider number 2 guy to Steph Curry on that championship roster?
Yeah, he had a
Defend
great run,
right,
man. Yeah,
defended those guys on that team too, on that Boston team, and it was crucial. So yeah, it's
yeah.
my 5: Jay, Jamal Murray, RJ, Andrew Wiggins, and Dylan Brooks. That's my 5.
That's a great 5, man. I love it. I love asking that question. You know, everyone's got a different take, and um,
I
yeah,
was
I
thinking
love
of more U Sports 5, but I was like, this is my 5 of just like the people that I think had a big influence on like the game of basketball in this generation that a lot of players are gonna look up to.
Yeah, no, it's like I know like Steve makes a lot of 5s for people, especially like for a certain generation. Um, and Shay now, like I've passed his torch, if you will. Like Shay is the best we've ever seen, like no question. And I think Steve would even say that too. You know what I mean? Like the guy is just different, and he just his level, like I said, 89 straight games or 20 or more. Like this is bonkers, man. Like this guy, and
He wakes up and he already has 20. Sometimes he already wakes up and he already has 30, man. It's crazy because in that Netflix doc, he was talking about how like having 30 isn't a good game for him anymore. Like, what? If I
well,
had 30,
like last night, what he finished with 31 in 3 quarters, man. He didn't play the fourth quarter against Utah. Like this is normal for him now. This is, and I'm like, I just shake my head, man.
he
Like
just wakes up and he does it. I'm like, I'm jealous, man. I wish God gave me those capabilities to just go
he's a
out and
he's a bad boy, man. That guy. Liban, man, any shout outs or thank yous before we get you out of here? Really appreciate this, man, and love to have you back, obviously.
no, I appreciate you just having me on, and love the platform that you have, cover the national team and everything, and just Canadian hoops. And yeah, you do a really good job. Just I feel like highlighting stories, and uh, I listen to it all the time. So I want to shout out to
Appreciate
you.
that.
And, yeah, I want to say yeah, just shout out to people that are doing this. I feel like it's a like you said, passion of love. We're both doing it out of passion of love, and people that cover the game. I feel like journalism, let's be real, like there's some money to it, but like I could have been doing something else to pursue, like if I wanted to make like grand money, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not,
Yeah, yeah,
this is not like I'm not doing this because I love money, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I don't think you're doing a podcast for money. I don't think any of us are doing it for that, you
No.
know. So it's like support it. I would say support Canada Hoops podcast, support my podcast, and yeah, just show love because like we just want to tell stories, get you voices that you probably don't hear that you want to hear, um and yeah, just like tell stories in a fun, creative way, and yeah, just enjoy Canadian basketball. I think we all love it. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it, and yeah, hopefully they both teams end up getting some medals to make this podcast, our podcast, blow up even more. You know, I feel like Olympics times, once the World Cup
Oh,
starts, everyone's gonna be tuning in for that kind of stuff. It's gonna be big time.
yeah, no, the time is now, man. Appreciate you too, man. Really do. Like I just love your work, your content, important voice in this community, man, truly. And please listen to the Canadian Basketball Show hosted by Lee Ban. Keep reading his work. I want to thank him again. And that's a wrap on another episode of Canada Hoops. Thank you again to Libaan Osman for pulling up. Remember to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. Hit us up on Instagram and X.com. Keep supporting Canada basketball, and we will see you on the next episode.